Leigh Douglas, how are we?
Would you believe, Fi, I'm still in the ongoing battle that I've been in with Thames Water since May. I called them yesterday because I'm not convinced that my leak has in fact been fixed, in that I can see water pooling in my little patch of front of my house. There is actively water pooling. It hasn't rained. And I was told I would receive a call back by the relevant department. Did I receive a call back, Fiona? No, I did not. What I received was a text saying, hello, we recently called you. How satisfied were you with the service? And I was like, well, I'm going to put 0 because I didn't receive the service.
That's insane. It's almost as if privatization was a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nationalize utilities. Just throwing that out there.
Please.
Please. Yeah.
It's been 6 months.
And all the while you're getting build.
And all the while I'm getting letters going, your water usage looks unusually high. Here's some ways to cut down on your water usage. And I'm like, I would love to cut down on my water usage. I would love to, because there's actively a leak, as I've been telling you, since May.
Welcome to Queer Gals Watch the West Wing, where you'll find some enraged individuals discussing things that may or may not matter. Come on in. The water's fine, not to use a triggering word. Welcome back, dear listeners. Leigh and I have had high-octane weeks in terms of frustration and anger. And what we are definitely going to do is just step into the safe, warm, loving embrace of Aaron Sorkin's The West Wing.
The shaken, not stirred, or should I say stirred world of The West Wing.
I am really, really excited to talk about this episode. I loved it. It's one of my top of the season.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now, I was on quite a lot of codeine for my ongoing back problems while I was watching this. So on a kind of
Dear
refresh.
Listener, an update from last week. Fi is still in spasm.
Yeah. Thrilling. So we're going to see how it goes on a refresh. But at the time I was like, wow, this is amazing. So yes, we are here to discuss season 3, episode 17 of The West Wing, Stirred.
And based on that title, which is obviously kind of giving cocktails.
Yeah.
I was deeply concerned to see that the previously on is very heavy on Leo's sobriety. And I was like, I don't know that I can actually cope spiritually with a relapse.
No, I didn't want another dark episode.
No.
I also was like, where we're at in the season, it would feel odd to go into like a very heavy episode because we've kind of still working our way out from the last one. But the kind of like part of Leo's sobriety journey we were looking at was him opening up to Hoynes and being invited to Hoynes' AA meeting. And so I thought, are we going to get some Hoynes? Because we're in a campaign year.
Yeah.
And an election cycle is coming up, and we have seen little to nothing of Hoynes.
We kind of set up that he might be a primary challenger, and then we've seen hide nor hair.
Yeah. We begin this episode in classic Sorkin fashion in near total darkness.
In what looks like a kind of crisis basement meeting. But oh no, we are in fact in the super secret poker game. AKA AA.
Really interesting, because I didn't know that we would ever get to see behind the curtain of this.
No. I also think, was there a slight missed opportunity for somebody else who we know to be in this meeting? As like an unexpected other person who we know. I
have things to say on this. So, there's a particular member of this AA group who's like kind of basically saying Leo was publicly outed as an alcoholic. And he's saying this in front of Leo's face. I'm wondering if Leo shouldn't come to these meetings anymore because people are looking for him to slip up. And what if they're looking at his movements? And what if they're looking at us? And like, there's the possibility that we're going to get outed. And I thought that was very interesting. I mean, he goes about it like an asshole.
Yeah.
But I do think he's saying something very interesting in terms of the stakes for all of these men. Yeah. That they are all alcoholics working in government.
None of them are publicly sober.
Leo is the only person in that room who is, publicly sober.
Yeah.
Now, I also find it interesting that they're all men.
Yes.
Because statistically, they wouldn't all be men.
No.
And so that I just thought that was an interesting thing in terms of the framing of addiction in television.
They were also all white.
They were all white, and they were all of a very similar age.
Yes,
all of which I think
Hoynes seemed to be the youngest, I feel.
Yeah, if one were to go to an AA meeting, there would be a lot more diversity of age, gender, and ethnicity.
Yes.
So I did find that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether or not that's because it's kind of a specially chosen meeting by Hoynes, so it's men that he knows who are more likely to be middle-aged white men.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was interesting because I kind of thought if we're going to go into this private AA world that's held in the West Wing, is there going to be like a young aide there? Is there going to be an assistant who's, in their 30s there? Are there going to be women there? But no, I mean, I guess.
It feels very boy club. Even though it's obviously explicitly about sobriety, it feels very boys club. And it feels like it's very much kind of a safe male space in a way.
Yeah. But this guy's kind of coming for Leo. And essentially Hoynes is like, look, Leo's in.
This is my meeting. Leo stays.
Leo stays. Smash to credits. Great smash to credits.
Because we've also not seen Hoynes be really anything other than a petty bitch until that moment.
Yeah.
That's the first time we've kind of seen Hoynes be a decent man.
Yeah.
Dare I say.
More of this as the episode goes on.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Also, it's the first time we've kind of seen him not be like a whore for the cameras,
Yeah. Like, I do feel that this episode is the first episode we're allowed to know John Hoynes.
Yes.
It's Thursday. It's 10:30 p.m. We're all still at work. We meet Josh and Sam on a little walk and talk.
Yeah. Talking about hockey and sumo players, fine. But what I did enjoy was Sam suggesting that they should just put a sumo wrestler in the hockey rink in goal. And Josh is like, that will never work. And Sam's response is, my idea is totally inviolable. To which Josh responds, well, you're a Democrat. It's a pretty big club, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Lovely witty retort there.
Also, we love to see Story by D.D. Myers.
Yeah. Really good.
Very fun.
I think whenever I see that, I'm like, oh, like what nugget of real life has been like the kind of catalyst for this episode's story even.
Yeah. It also usually means something juicy for CJ.
Yeah. For me, it means a lot of kind of like backroom dealings.
Yeah.
Like how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Which is very much how this episode plays out. So there's an education act.
An internet.
Which is interesting because it's 2002. So I was like, what is that even going to be about? Like, what did we even know? Like, apart from going on Ask Jeeves once a week, what were we all doing on the internet?
Yeah.
But I suppose, and what it goes on to is internet access.
Yeah.
Is kind of what this act's all about.
Yeah.
And it's a bill or an act. Is an act a bill?
A bill becomes an act when it gets passed.
So it's currently a bill. And it's something that's been in the running for a really long time. And it's been almost kind of like a personal passion project of John Hoynes. And what Josh is saying to Sam is, look, the bill's going to struggle to pass. We kind of need Hoynes to drop his name from it for it to pass. So like, you go and give Hoynes the bad news.
Which means something kind of subtle and interesting. It means that John Hoynes' name doesn't have the political capital that it did when we first met him. And we've not quite been taken on the journey of what has happened to make people dislike John Hoynes or the tide of public opinion to change on him.
Yeah, definitely. Sam goes away and we're joined by Donna. We have a lovely tracking shot with Donna and Josh where they're in the bullpen and like the camera is kind of like circling around them. Really nice. And I say something that Leigh and I have spoken about is I think in this season we've had so many more office scenes.
Yeah.
Far fewer walk and talks.
Yeah.
Far fewer like moving shots. And it was really nice to kind of get back to that quite dynamic camera movement that we know and love this show for. More of that, please, Aaron. Conjecture. Donna is going to have a cute storyline through this episode about her school teacher, Mrs. Morello, who is retiring. And she would like the president to like make a day for her. Like Mrs. Morello Day.
Yeah, very cute.
Very cute. And nice to give Donna a nonsense story, but not one that's about her not being intelligent.
Yeah. There's a very fun moment between Toby and Sam where Sam walks up to Toby and says, "Got a minute?" And Toby says, "If I said no, would it stop you?"
No.
A nice harken back to their kind of original relationship when we first met them, where Toby was generally kind of harassed by Sam.
Sam is the young pup, you know, sort of bounding around. And Toby is the kind of grizzled, grey-jawed, old
traumatized pit bull.
Yeah. Classic Batman and Robin, if you will. Really nice. Toby's very grumpy in this episode.
He's so grumpy. I think it's because it all didn't really work out with Tabitha. He's back to his normal shit. But we have a classic Toby and Ginger corker where he has noticed something awry in the cabinet schedule and he wants a particular cabinet secretary called in. And Ginger's like, "When?" And he responds, "Look at my face." And she's like, "Now?"
Yeah. I think having a boss like Toby would be like so good for so much of the time. And then you would just have to deal with moments like that where you're like, I know it's not about me.
Yeah.
But he's angry. Yeah.
He is the kind of man who you would support and he would kind of expect there to be a certain level of mind reading.
Yes. A little bit more conjecture. Ginger is wearing this gorgeous, like blue-gray, slightly oversized suit. And her hair's kind of like, it's down, but it's like slicked back.
Yeah.
She looks amazing.
Yeah. I love it when they put Ginger in like a pastel.
Yeah. Jed is doing Charlie's taxes.
Why is this so cute? Have we seen Jed using a computer before?
I love that Jed is more computer literate than Josh.
It feels very correct somehow.
Yeah.
Because I feel
like Jed did a course.
I think he would have looked at it as like a marvelous invention.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Also, just like some more conjecture on Martin Sheen being like the most adorable man who's ever lived. Lizzie finally convinced me to watch some Grace and Frankie the other day. He's so cute.
He's in Grace and Frankie?
Yeah, he's one of the husbands.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Jed Bartlet is one of the husbands in Grace and Frankie.
Who are in a relationship with each other?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well,
Martin Sheen played gay. It was major.
Incredible. Well, there goes my afternoon. Stunning scenes. Yeah, I really love it. Tracks for me that Jed enjoys the process of doing taxes.
Yeah, I really felt for Charlie trying to sort out his tax return. How horrifying. Also, some very cute nuggets that we get through this. First of all, that Charlie lists Deanna as a dependent. Yeah. Which like we kind of knew, but like the fact that it's like formalized like that is like he's literally bringing his sister up.
Yeah.
You know, because it could be, oh, I take care of my sister, but like, you know, ultimately the buck stops with my auntie in terms of like paying for her. But no.
Yeah.
Also, we have a salary drop for Charlie, which I found fascinating. So Charlie makes $35,000 a year, which in today's money is $63,000 or £48,000 per year.
It's, to be fair, for the role and the hours that he's working, that feels deserved. But that's quite a hefty salary to make at 21, right?
It's quite a hefty salary. I would kind of argue, though, I'm like a little bit surprised that it's not a little bit more. Just because I think like in terms of like personal assistant role, like high level personal assistant roles.
Yeah.
I think for like high net worth individuals, I think like £50,000 a year would be pretty standard. But then you've got to think like if you're doing it for the president of the United States.
Yeah, does that not come with something? But then I suppose everyone in the West Wing talks about how quite poorly paid the job is.
I suppose that's true comparatively. Yeah, because it's being paid for by taxpayer dollars. So that does kind of make sense. But
interesting.
Also, then we get in exact dollar amounts how much Charlie has donated to charity.
And he's a good person. He donates nearly $1,500 to charity.
When you consider that he's like on £48,000 a year, the equivalent of, and he's got like a dependent, I would imagine, with, you know, school fees. She might be getting up to the age where she's going to college soon.
Yeah.
Also, LMAO, he's talking about his tax rebate and his plans and what he's going to do. A moment for a DVD player costing $499.
Yeah, that made me laugh out loud. So he's worked out he's going to probably get a rebate of about $500. And he's like, I'm going to get myself a DVD player and one DVD.
No, I think it's $700. And the $500 is going to go towards the DVD player. And then he's going to have enough money left over also for the DVD.
Unbelievable. The age of the DVD.
Wow.
I love a DVD personally. I still have quite a few. I watched this show on DVD. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan. I will say that my DVD player cost less than 10%.
Same.
What
yeah.
Charlie's DVD player is going to cost him. I am thrilled that Charlie is also just as outraged at the tax system as we are. But what is CJ bringing to Jed? I don't think it's a good start to an episode if Jed says to someone, get me Fitzwallace and Nancy McNally.
No.
Nothing good has happened.
No.
We've got uranium on the loose.
We've got like nuclear waste. That's
on fire.
It's not good. We've both seen the television show Chernobyl.
Yeah.
That, quite frankly, was the most terrifying shit I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, we've kind of stepped into quite a heavy storyline about this. A truck with some nuclear waste has crashed into another truck in a tunnel, and that tunnel is now on fire.
Some might say the worst possible place for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the side, our kind of other plot that's going on is a secret meeting.
I've been dying to talk about this with you.
Yeah, which is being chaired by Josh because Bruno has kind of decided that what he'd like to do is spitball. If the vice were to change, who would the vice be?
Because we don't think that Hoynes can get us Texas anymore.
If it's Governor Ritchie running for the Republicans, he's going to take Texas.
Yeah.
And that was kind of why we had Hoynes.
Yeah. Also, lol, that the Democratic dream of winning Texas has been going on since 2002. And has it happened? No. I don't think I'd fully clocked that Jed won the first time by flipping Texas with the help of John Hoynes.
Yeah.
I hadn't, I knew the South, but I didn't know Texas, I don't think.
I gave you the South. I delivered you the South.
Now
something
that's like that. NFL.
Yeah. So there's some throwing around of some names early doors. Now, one of them,
beside myself,
is Fitzwallace.
Fitzwallace as a running mate? Are you joking? Be still my beating heart. I would die. R.I.P. me. I would die to vote for a Jed Bartlet Fitzwallace ticket. Are you joking? That is the stuff of dreams.
It's kind of rock and roll. I like, dare we dream, Leigh? Dare we dream?
I feel as this plays out that I was robbed and teased.
I think this is such an interesting topic for this episode because in a let Bartlet be Bartlet world, does Hoynes make sense as Vice? I think it's really important. And also because he's a character we don't know that well.
Yeah.
It is really important for us to pull that apart and be like, if we're going to be going into the end of this season and like maybe next season as being like election time, Hoynes needs to be a fully fleshed out human for us. Otherwise, we're just not going to emotionally connect.
Yeah. He can't just be a slippery little villain.
No. Couple of moments of nonsense. The first one is we check in on Donna's storyline. Josh is like, look, you can't get this done. One of the best quotes from that scene was, I'm saying if she's a lesbian, we could talk, but for all we know, she could be a bicycle thief.
Yeah, that was incredible.
And I actually prefer that line to be taken out of context.
Yeah.
I think it's better that way.
Also, first mention of Google on the West
Similar
Wing.
times. He's like, he literally says, do a Google search.
So we don't have Google as a verb yet.
No, it's not yet in the vernacular.
We don't yet Google, but we have Google.
We need to do a Google search. Very fun. Very fun.
Conjecture. Is the internet to Josh Lyman's generation what AI will be to our careers?
Terrifying. I wish not to think about that. Scary. I'd like to live in the past, please. So let's go back to John Hoynes. Sam goes to Hoynes' office. We have this lovely moment where both Leo and Hoynes at points in this episode kind of very smoothly cover where they were for the time that they were at their AA meeting.
Yeah, it was gorgeous to hear and be in on the secret. Hear Hoynes go, I was just at a poker game.
Yeah, that was enjoyable. They then, Sam and Hoynes then talk sports briefly.
Also, I've never noticed how physically similar these two men are before, but it makes sense that they would kind of feel like blood brothers. You kind of can see a connection between them, which I feel I don't know we've ever seen them speak to each other before, but
no,
I like the setup that Sam is like the key into Hoynes.
Yeah. And we get a little bit more information about this bill that Hoynes is trying to get passed. It actually does sound really important. So the kind of focus is internet access for low-income families, specifically in rural areas. And you're like, oh, that's fundamentally a great thing to get behind. That's also like a great bill to have behind you on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
But we're going to flip back to the other secret meeting where we're discussing whether or not Fitzy is a good fit as advice. Will we or will we not drop Hoynes?
And what Hoynes would do in response to being dropped, aka potentially run as an independent, which I love. I love this idea as a plot line. I think it's completely genius.
Thus splitting the votes.
It's thus splitting the Democratic vote. Hello, Jill Stein.
Yeah.
But I love that Josh is just like so pig-headed that he doesn't think that this is even a possibility. He said to do this, he'd be the craziest vice president since Aaron Burr, and Burr shot a guy. Yes, he did.
Famously.
I love that we're having this full-blown conversation. We don't even know what party Fitzwallace belongs to.
Yeah, there's so much discussion of like the pros and cons of Fitzwallace. And then they're like, okay, so the first thing we need to find out is who he votes for. Is he a member of either party? And I would like to proffer that I think it's chic as hell that Fitzy isn't open about his party status and just serves at the pleasure of the presidents.
Yeah. It's incredible. And also, I think it's a reference to Eisenhower.
Right.
Because when Eisenhower was being pushed to run, he'd only like announced a month before what his party was. Publicly, as we discussed in the New Hampshire primary study session. So I think this is a nod to Eisenhower.
That makes a lot of sense as well in as terms of like quite like military based individuals as well.
Also, there's a classic exchange between CJ and Josh where Josh goes, I can't believe we're talking about this. And CJ just goes, your meeting.
Yeah. You called us here. You all brought us here to talk about this. But it's time for Leo to have a crack at Charlie's taxes.
Yeah.
So Leo's kind of like looking over Charlie's stuff. And he's like, oh, you're not actually going to get a rebate. You actually owe tax.
Horrendous. I love Charlie's outrage on the subject of taxes. We then find out that he spent his rebate last year on paying off his visa bill, which is a very sensible call, very sensible thing to do. And Jed just leans out of the Oval to say, a trip to Banana Republic would have killed you.
Which is the campest thing I think he's ever said. I stand, Charlie is us, we are him. And he's so outraged because he's like, but if it was a rebate, then like it was a gift. But why are they now taking that off of what I got this year? and Leo and Jed are like, well, we wanted to kind of like boost the economy a little bit. We wanted people to go out for dinner and spend money in shops. So sorry about that.
Teach taxes in school. For the love of God, why does no country teach you about how to do a tax return in school? Cover it in high school. Teach us what we're supposed. And why is the language always so completely impenetrable? It's just like Anyway,
as someone who's staring down the barrel of a tax return that is needing to be done, I feel deeply for Charlie and this storyline.
As a dual citizen, as someone who has to file my taxes in 2 different countries every year, I feel it with 2 different tax years, by the way. So I have to do all of the calculations twice. I feel it deeply.
We're going to swing back to the secret meeting. And I don't know if I saw correctly, but it looked like CJ was having a glass of red wine.
I missed that entirely, if that is the case. But I do love that we're getting a shout out to Ulysses S. Grant.
Yes.
And also CJ saying Grant works as an example in almost any situation, and that's his legacy.
That and he won the Civil War.
Very fun.
Very fun.
Very fun.
Just some airtime for Ulysses, you know?
I just love that Ulysses is so famously rogue that we can roast him 200 years later for how rogue he was.
Yeah. A name that's thrown up in this particular section of the secret meeting, because Leo pops in to see how they're doing, is Leo.
Yeah. And then we get into this like, what I found quite a heartbreaking moment where Leo was like, you guys don't think that an alcoholic could be vice president. And Lizzie was kind of peering over my shoulder as I was watching this bit. And she was like, do they know that he's an alcoholic? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, so they're just purposely being insensitive. And it does feel, it feels a little the quips feel a little on the edge for me.
See, I think I saw it slightly differently. I still thought that I was like, you're all intelligent people. Like, wouldn't we love for it to be Bartlet and McGarry? But like, we understand the world that we live in. And I suppose I was like, there's an element that this is them having fun, and there's an element that it's them being like, well, we don't care. We all like, yeah, but we all work in an environment where everyone else does. So like, is it worth the joke? I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think that Leo would be an incredible vice president.
Also, Bartlet McGarry has a real ring to it.
It feels powerful. It feels powerful. But I guess it's one of those things where you're like, where is it better to have an individual?
Yeah.
One of the great things about Jed is he's an incredible orator. He has a strong moral compass. I think that he knows how to run a team well. The great thing about Leo is that he is the move maker.
Yes.
He is getting stuff done. You don't want him stuck in ceremonial jobs. He would be wasted as a vice.
He would be totally wasted. And the thing about Jed, I think, is that he has a sense of theater. He has a sense of showmanship. He's snazzy. Do you know what I mean? And I think, as you say, I think Leo's greatest strength is he is like a people manager first.
He gets stuff done, and I think you can't take that away from him. I think if you take away his productivity, he crumbles, as we've seen.
Yeah. Also, just a small sidebar to say that Margaret is in a gorgeous, like, purple cardigan blazer. And it's a gorgeous kind of 80s shade of purple.
Yeah.
But in a kind of like bombshell way.
Yeah.
Not in like a garish way.
Yeah. Once again, they did her dirty.
In season 1.
And now they're making up for it.
Yeah.
I know it's a ploy to keep Hoynes busy while they're having this secret meeting, but Hoynes and Sam are working really well together.
Working so well together. Yeah, 100%. It is interesting also that Sam has essentially been sent to babysit Hoynes so he doesn't clock that they're having this meeting. But also that Sam has not been let in on the fact that that's what he's doing. That's
a little bit icky for me because there's like, we now have like history of that happening multiple times.
Yeah, of Sam being the last to know.
Yeah, which doesn't feel very respectful. But they're like kind of like really bouncing off one another, like working out this bill. And I thought, what if this backfires? What if Hoynes does run as an independent and he poaches Sam to be his head of communications?
Yeah, there's a chemistry there for sure. You could see that there could be a real future for Sam's career working for John Hoynes, 100%.
Yeah. So they're trying to work out how they can improve this bill. And essentially, Sam kind of has to bring it back to it just seems like if you take your name off it, it'll pass. And I really felt for Hoynes, but I also felt respect for him when he was like, take my name off them.
it wasn't even a question. And it's the first time we've seen him not be a slippery little snake.
Because up until this point, he struck me as someone who's like, no, this is my work.
Yeah, he's always been quite ego-driven, really. So it's been interesting to see, he does actually care about the American people and not just, press conferences with volleyball players and old
quilts.
women. Yeah.
Really interesting. Sam goes back to report to Josh that Hoynes is happy to take his name off the bill and finds out that the meeting that the others have been having, and obviously we knew he would be upset about it. He asks who the frontrunners are, and Josh's response is Fitzwallace, Leo, and Ulysses S. Grant, which I find to be a very, very funny line.
It's a very funny line. Yeah.
But time for Leo and Hoynes to touch base.
And this was the first time I cried in this episode.
Yeah.
Which I did not see coming previous to this scene. But then it really suddenly was quite a tearjerker for me. Because Hoynes comes into Leo's office and Leo's like, Margaret kind of announces him. And Leo's like, you can go home, by the way. And she just looks at him so seriously and says, I go home when you go home.
Yeah, and then leaves. I adore her. It also just does feel like she really takes not like a caregiver role for Leo, but she does watch out for him in kind of a scrappy little sister kind of way. Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's well placed, I think. He doesn't need her. She isn't saving him. But she's like, I'm available.
She chooses to do things for Leo because she loves him that he would never ask of her or expect or take as a given or take for granted.
Great and powerfully written character.
Love also that as the scene continues, we're finally getting the math, because you and I had clocked previously that Jed offered Hoynes a drink, and we were like, in a previous episode way back, and we were like, oh, it's interesting that Jed doesn't know. And we're finally getting the math on that, and we realize that Hoynes doesn't know that Jed didn't know he's an alcoholic.
Which is very interesting. I think it's a really respectful choice that Leo has never broken Hoynes' trust by telling Jed, that's not his information to tell. Hoynes says, I would have thought you would have mentioned it to him. And Leo's like, oh no, I haven't. So that's really interesting to me that Jed has run an election campaign and almost an entire administration not knowing that his vice is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And therefore proving it actually doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just thought that felt like quite an important scene when we saw Hoynes stand up for Leo at the top of the episode. It then felt like that respect was being passed back.
Yes, there's a mutuality there.
Small moment of conjecture, because Toby and the guy from HUD, who he'd kind of got Ginger to pull into the office earlier, have a scene where Toby just tells this dude off. And boy, oh boy, I would hate to get told off by Toby.
This is something we keep coming back to again and again. You never want to be in a position. Debate the issue with Toby, fine. Get him a bit riled up, fine. Triggering Toby's kind of righteous rage, fine. You never want to be in a position with Toby Ziegler where he's like, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
Ever.
No. Taxes are dumb.
Yeah.
The kind of closing moments of this storyline for Charlie are him writing a check and giving it to Jed, which I don't think is how taxes work.
No, Jed is not the IRS.
Yeah, why are you giving Jed a check? That's not how it works.
Very funny though.
Very funny. And then the cuteness.
Jed has just bought Charlie the DVD player,
which is really nice.
He's like, you'll find it when you get home.
And Charlie says, that was an incredibly nice gesture.
I'm really something.
That's funny. And then he's like, Charlie, get that woman on the phone. I'm feeling magical tonight.
This is the Jed that I love. This is the Jed that I love.
Because I was like, I have absolutely no idea who that's with reference to.
No.
My first thought was like, is he talking about Abby? Is Abby that woman? Is I'm feeling magical tonight being like, I'm feeling a little randy?
Saucy.
But we'll come back. We do circle back to this. Because we go to the Oval and it's Jed, Leo and Hoynes. And a very classy moment from Hoynes in here.
Where we realize that Hoynes has been in on the game the whole time. Hoynes knows what the meeting is that's been happening.
Yeah, he's like, I know that I'm kind of like up for replacement.
And for once, he's not a salty little bitch.
No, he's pretty like honest about it. He's like, you should choose the right person. I mean, if I can't give you Texas, then...
Did not see a redemption arc coming for Hoynes.
Not in a million years. He also speaks to Jed about his alcoholism. And Jed is allowed to ask questions about that. And do you know what I enjoyed was, it was nice considering that we had such a lack of diversity in the AA meeting. It was nice to hear a story that's different from Leo's journey with alcohol dependency. Hoynes was like, it runs in my family. I had a few experiences at college. I clocked it and I just decided that I'm a person who doesn't drink.
Which I think is a nod to George W. Bush. George W. Bush is from Texas. George W. Bush also, at a relatively young age, just stopped drinking. I think on his 40th birthday. Is that right? But I think there was some conversation happening at this time around, was George W. Bush an alcoholic? You know, and that whole conversation around like, so you had some beers in college, you know, that whole thing, I think is with reference to George W. Bush.
Really interesting. I just thought it was a really well-rounded scene. And then Jed gets a piece of paper and he's like, Hoynes is like, well, why would you want me to like run as your vice? And Jed's like, because of these 4 words. And then gives the paper to Leo and then Leo gives the paper to Hoynes. And I was like, what does it say on the paper? Like, what are the 4 words? Like, why are you keeping this from us? And then Hoynes leaves and I'm like,
yeah.
And then Leo goes and Jed's like, hey, let's do this magic thing to Charlie. And is like, is that woman on hold? Like, put her through. And then we just like whiplash our way to Donna entering. And it turns out we're ringing Mrs. Morello.
I'm beside myself. And this is where the tears were free flowing.
Oh, yeah.
Because she hears Mrs. Morello's voice. And then she's kind of stumbling and she doesn't know what to say. And then she says, well, Jed says, tell her where you are.
Yeah.
Kind of helps her out, prompts her. And Donna says, Mrs. Morello, I'm in the Oval Office with the President of the United States and it's because of you.
And then Mrs. Morello goes, oh, Donna, what a thing to say. We're all very proud of you, Donna. And I was like...
I'm crying again.
What a moment. And what a moment for Donna Moss.
I'm so proud of her. From where we started.
To here. And like, also a really huge moment, you know, we've talked about how she has slowly built up an interaction with Jed, but that's not something that would happen on many occasions. And so even just to be in the Oval Office in a one-on-one with him is a big deal.
Where she's not like helping him host the public.
Yeah.
You know.
So I just thought that was a really beautiful way to end what was a silly Donna storyline.
Yeah.
Is like to make it like superhuman. Yeah, I loved it. And we close out the episode.
I'm still crying.
I know.
I can't stop.
With the gang, and we basically Leo's like, it's going to be Hoynes on the ticket.
Yeah.
Everyone else is off the table. That's who Jed wants. That's who we're going to go with. And the team are like, why? And Leo reveals the piece of paper and he says, because of these 4 words, which is because I could die.
Which is interesting. We've now had kind of like a trilogy of moments where we've written something down on a piece of paper and it's become like iconic. And it's let Bartlet be Bartlet, Bartlet for America, and now because I could die. And that really feels like we are finally letting John Hoynes into the magic of Jed Bartlet. I feel like by making it such like a moment, it feels like we're truly locked in with Hoynes.
And like, what an incredible thing to say, which is like, because you could lead this country, that's why you're staying on the ticket. Which some might say is an incredibly relevant way to pick a vice president.
Yeah.
And we'll leave that there. Really, really great episode. I loved it. And I'm really excited about like the things that have been put in motion.
We have not done any predictions for a while. I don't know that we've done predictions this season. Do you have any predictions for the rest of the season? We're kind of going to be heating up from here on out, I would imagine, up to the finale.
One of my predictions is there has to be some sort of personnel change or moment of personnel, like lack of stability before we hit campaign season. Like at the moment, we're very locked in as a team. We're all working really well together. And realistically, I think there needs to be some tension. And then maybe that's going to come down to like what we're campaigning on.
Yeah. Also, like season end, season 1, Josh gets shot. Season end, season 2, Mrs. Landingham dies and Jed gets outed for having MS.
Yeah. What the fuck is
How
going to
in
happen?
the hell do you up the stakes for the end of season 3? And I think you're right. I think it has to be a major player potentially leaving the show.
I really don't know because like you just know that the last 2 episodes are going to be like a double bill and like something big is going to be like leaning over into the next season. And I just can't work out what that's going to be at the moment.
No, I feel like we're building towards a completion of a narrative between Amy, Josh, and Donna. I wonder, is end of season 3 where we get a Donna Josh like kiss that's almost like either like accidental or like in the heat of a particular moment, and then it's like, oh, this was a huge mistake.
Well, I mean, I feel like we need to hear a bit more about Cliff Callie because in the teaser moment at the start of Isaac and Ishmael, Donna was like, and I get a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we've kind of like heard that you went on a couple of dates, but like, you going steady? Yeah, it's really tough to like know what's going to happen. I mean, the thing is, if we hadn't have like sorted out the Abby thing, I would have assumed that it might have been something family related because we kind of tied up with censure, everything that was going on with Jed. But I was like, maybe we'll run the Abby storyline longer. I just think there needs to be a moment of upset in the personal side of this team.
I wonder if we are going to harken back to a couple of episodes ago, and I wonder if we're going to see CJ lose her dad while she's in a very high-powered position. And then there's the opportunity for a lot of interplay between Josh having already been through that with CJ. How does CJ like handle her emotions while having such a public-facing job? I think that could potentially be at play because we've kind of set that up a little bit. I would love to see the return of Bruno and Doug and Connie. I'd really love to see a debate performance from Jed Bartlet.
I think we're going to have to wait till season 4 for that. But I do think there will be a debate episode. I'd love to see him go toe to toe with Governor Ritchie. I wonder, now you've mentioned the campaign team, whether there's a possibility that Bruno's like, yeah, like everything's going well. You've got to fire this person. They don't work for you. Like it doesn't work well. Like they're sending you in the wrong direction. Like cut Ziegler out, replace him.
Not Toby, surely.
No, but you know what you mean. Like, and then that leaves Jed in a quandary of like, do I stay with the team that I love, or do I follow the person who I've hired to help get me elected again? That could be something. I feel like so many wingnuts are listening to this and being like, they have no idea. Sweet summer children.
Best fashion, Fi.
Best fashion, I think I'm going to have to agree with you about Margaret's cardigan.
Yes.
It wasn't that it was a bad episode for fashion. It's just that really stood out for me as just a gorgeous colour. And it was quite a muted palette of colours this episode.
Kind of 90s era Kris Jenner, dare I say. A little bit.
Yeah, no, I see that.
What could a British or Irish politician never get away with?
I think having a secret meeting, it being discovered, and then there not being a subsequent scandal.
1000%.
Because we love a scandal in the UK. In UK politics, we love a scandal. We love people to resign. We love the tabloids to be like, did you know secret meeting number 4 on this? Yeah. So that just couldn't happen.
I'm going to say discussing Beowulf with a secondary school English teacher.
Yeah, and being like, did you read it in its original language?
Did you read it in the original Middle English?
What, to a group of 15-year-olds? I chose not to. Yeah.
Queerest moment that never intended to be queer.
I think Jed Bartlet making a joke about Banana Republic.
100%. Very, very much so. I would also like to add the brotherhood of Leo and Hoynes.
Yeah, lovely. Lovely.
I also feel like Sam has a little bit of a crush on Hoynes.
Yeah, I would agree. I know what you mean by that. But not necessarily in a I want to sleep with you way, but I want to be the gay man that you are.
No, I think it's an I want to sleep with you way. I just don't know that Sam knows that he has a crush on Hoynes. You know?
I just really, really like being around him.
Exactly.
And I just really, really, really want to spend time with him. And when he talks to me, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's queer as fuck.
Best writerly moment.
To do this, he'd be the craziest vice president since Aaron Burr, and Burr shot a guy.
I think for me, it was all of the discussion of Ulysses S. Grant.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like a man.
I'm saying if she's a lesbian, we could talk, but for all we know, she could be a bicycle thief.
Put it on my tombstone.
Yeah.
I had to go with Charlie. Let's get that woman on the phone. I'm feeling magical tonight.
Referring to oneself as feeling magical, I think is incredible, and I would like to take that into my own personal vernacular.
Yeah.
And what was the moment that made you proudest to be an American?
I think it's pretty obvious. Mrs. Morello, I'm standing in the Oval Office with the President of the United States, and it's because of you.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Here's to all the teachers who made us passionate about anything.
Yeah.
I don't know how to move on from there, Leigh, but you've got to teach me something because that's the format of this podcast.
Yeah. We're going to go in a slightly surprising direction today, I think. There was a lot of discussion of both election math and election maps.
Yes.
And the fact that they have been working the election math on the election maps, and therefore Hoynes might not be as valuable a choice as he was 4 years ago.
And is this going to bring us back to belts? To sun belts and rust belts?
It's going to take us to Map Baddie.
To the guy himself?
to Map Baddie.
When you say Map Baddie, are you talking about the guy that has the big map on election night?
Yeah.
Because I was like, wait, is Map Baddie a website about American politics? Because I would be terrified.
No, we are talking about Steve Kornacki, but it's going to take us a second to get there.
Steve, my boy. I love Steve. Okay, Leigh, the floor's yours. I'm with you.
Yes, we've had some fun with Steve ourselves on various election nights, both joyous and heartbreaking.
Yes.
But to take us to the original election map, it's 1789. It's the first ever presidential election. It is an almost unanimous vote for George Washington, who ran with the Federalist Party. And of course, the election map in 1789 was just the 13 original colonies. And North Carolina and Rhode Island hadn't ratified the Constitution yet, so they did not participate.
Great.
Then we get to the election of 1800 of Hamilton fame, in which Thomas Jefferson actually tied with Aaron Burr, your fave and mine, in the Electoral College, and it had to be decided by the House of Representatives ultimately. And the controversy over that tie led to the passage of the 12th Amendment so that there would be a process for how to deal with such a situation.
Which makes sense.
It does. I'm just taking you through some election map highlights, really, and some fun facts. The election of 1856 was the first election with California as a state.
Woohoo.
Which is kind of funny because it's the whole East Coast and Midwest, and then California, and then just this absolute emptiness in between.
Just the wilderness.
Just the Wild West. And the first election with California in 1856 was also the first election where we had predominantly Republicans and Democrats facing each other.
Right.
Because we've done away with the Whigs. We've done away with the Federalists. We've done away with the confusingly named Democratic Republicans.
Yes.
And the Republicans were a new party in this election, and they were founded primarily on opposing slavery.
Okay.
Which is fascinating considering where we've ended up.
Yeah.
The northern states in the election of 1856 voted Republican. Everywhere else voted Democrat. So we've got the North as the Republican area of the country at this point, map-wise. Republican obviously being the party that is opposing slavery. And then we've got the rest of the country voting Democrat, or Southern Democrat, really. And James Buchanan won, although he only won with 45% of the vote.
Okay.
Which brings us to the election of 1860, in which we have the appearance of a little-known guy called Abraham Lincoln.
Old Honest Abe.
A Republican who was elected with 180 electoral votes total from Oregon, California, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, New York, and all of those states that are New England. Minnesota and Oregon were new states that year. Okay. And that was the first election, which is interesting when you look at the election map, where the 13 original colonies controlled less than 50% of the electoral college votes.
Yeah, that must have been like...
Because so much expansion has happened by this point. Lincoln, similarly, only got 40% of the popular vote because it was split with 3 other candidates.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that Abraham Lincoln kind of won with what would become the Rust Belt in many ways, aka the kind of manufacturing center of America. What's interesting about the election, the following election in 1864, is that obviously we are now in the Civil War. And so the South didn't vote in that election because they were the Confederacy at that point.
Which in itself is kind of bonkers, right? That like you would have an election where it wasn't actually democratic because not everyone was taking part.
Well, because in theory, the Confederacy, had they won, would have become like a new nation. They wouldn't have been part of the United States anymore.
Yeah. God,
so there was a president of the Confederacy. There was that election happened, but they didn't participate in the election of the president of the United States. Messy. As civil wars tend to be.
Yeah, I mean, fair. That's true.
Also in 1864, Kansas, Nevada, and West Virginia became states. West Virginia. Anyway, interestingly, then following on from that, in the kind of Reconstruction period post-Civil War, in 1872, Louisiana and Arkansas, which were, of course, part of the Confederacy during the Civil War, they had their votes in the election of 1872 rejected because of issues with Reconstruction. So those 2 states' votes were not counted in the election of 1872. Just a personal shout out for the election of 1892 because it was the first year that Washington was a state, which is actually quite late on.
Yeah. But then it was quite, I imagine it was quite kind of like wild.
Oh, yeah.
Just lots of loggers.
Yeah.
You know?
The loggers were happening. The whole history of sex work in Seattle was already ongoing at this point, as we've previously discussed. But yeah, that's when like Idaho, Montana, North and South Dakota, and Wyoming all become states. So this is really when like the Wild West becomes part of the... Join the chat. Exactly. 1904, Teddy Roosevelt wins everything north of Kentucky and Virginia.
Whoa.
As a Republican. The South still is like a solid Democratic bloc post-Civil War.
Wow.
But yeah, he won very convincingly. Not as convincingly, however, as his distant cousin, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who... So obviously you need as it stands presently, you need 270 electoral votes to become president. In 1932, in his first election, FDR won the Electoral College with 472 electoral votes.
That's insane.
Compared to Hoover, who had 59.
That's rough.
It's rough.
That's rough.
Yeah. But we were kind of very heavily blaming Hoover for the Great Depression. So it wasn't a great moment for him.
No.
Generally. But yeah, he won every state west of Pennsylvania. If you can just take that in for Pennsylvania is on the East Coast.
That's wild.
It's a beautiful map to look at as a Democrat. It's not as beautiful though as 1936 when he won every state west of Vermont. And won 523 electoral votes. I mean, like, landslide does not begin to cover it.
No.
Alfred M. Landon, the poor man who was running against him, won only 8 electoral votes. He only won Maine and Vermont. He didn't win anything else.
Oh. And then I hope that he sort of disappeared from politics and was never heard from again.
So, you know, it could have been worse for Kamala. Like it has been worse for others in the past.
Historically, it's been worse.
And then what's interesting is in the next few elections after 1936, as FDR's kind of like long history as president continues, that's when we start to see the middle of the country, like a line from Canada to Mexico down the middle of the country start to vote Republican. Mm-hmm. In protest to what they didn't like about FDR. But at this point, the South is still firmly Democratic, Southern Democrat. Now, what makes the major difference here, and what's interesting about how Fitzwallace is being brought up, as I believe in a nod to Eisenhower, is that what really changes everything and gives us the start of the electoral map that would look more familiar to us is in 1952, Eisenhower wins overwhelmingly as obviously like a general in the aftermath of World War II. He flips almost the whole country from what it was in 1936.
Whoa.
So basically everywhere except for the Deep South votes Republican for Eisenhower. And it's just the Deep South that stays Democratic.
Okay.
Again, getting closer to the electoral map that we'd be more familiar with as the way things stand today. 1960, the beginning of the swinging 60s, JFK runs as a Democrat. And he loses the West Coast to the Republican, Richard Nixon. But he wins the Deep South, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Minnesota, Illinois, Missouri, Michigan, West Virginia, PA, and parts of New England. So he really wins, JFK wins with a combination of the Deep South and the Rust Belt.
Yeah.
So we're still very much playing off of the South being democratic. We're still playing off of that Civil War rule at this point. What's interesting about 1964, after obviously JFK has been assassinated and the candidate is LBJ, that's the only election, 1964, where Alaska has ever voted Democratic.
Really?
Was for LBJ. It was also the first year that Washington, D.C. received electoral votes. Washington, D.C. has never voted for the Republican candidate.
Really? That's in its entire history of voting, it's always been Democratic.
Ever since 1964, when D.C. has had electoral votes, they have always voted for the Democratic candidate.
That's very interesting.
And 1964, with the election of LBJ, is the first time the Deep South ever goes Republican.
Right.
For LBJ's competitor, Barry Goldwater.
Great name.
Yeah.
Barry Goldwater.
Of course, in 1968, Richard Nixon comes back fighting after being defeated by JFK, and he reverses the Democratic landslide for LBJ. And 9 states have voted Republican ever since Richard Nixon ran.
Right, so he was the one that flipped them and then they've stayed
so
Republican.
Ever since,
so interesting.
Ever since 1968, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma since 1968 have consistently voted Republican. They've never voted for the Democratic candidate.
Wow.
Which is kind of like cowboys vote Republican is kind of
where that's now been how that's been branded.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of how I would see it. Wild West is Republican territory. What's interesting in 1976 is that Minnesota votes for Jimmy Carter, the Democratic candidate.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, Fiona, is the state in the nation with the longest Democratic voting record? Obviously ignoring DC.
That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to say it's going to be on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say like one of the New England...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, until you said that like Vermont and that had been Republican to start with, like maybe like Pennsylvania?
Minnesota has the longest Democratic winning streak.
Yeah.
Minnesota. I apologize to any Minnesotans listening. But they voted for Jimmy Carter in 1976 and they voted Democratic ever since. It has been like a battleground. The Republicans have come close to winning it many times, but it's never
contested.
actually happened. 1980, Ronald Reagan beats Jimmy Carter, as we know, in a landslide. And then 4 more states have not voted Democrat since 1980, since they voted for Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, and South Carolina, which completes the Republican column from Canada down to Mexico.
Yeah.
That has just stayed consistently Republican.
The immovable force.
In 1992, Bill Clinton was the first candidate to win what became known as the Blue Wall.
Right.
Which stayed intact from 1992 to 2012, which included 18 states until Trump broke through the Blue Wall in 2016 by winning Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
Right.
And that in the 1992 election brings the total electoral college votes of so obviously we need 270 to win. The election of 1992 brings the Democratic winning streak states, as in the states that have not voted Republican since 1992, to 113 electoral college votes.
Okay.
Because we add California, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, New Jersey, and Vermont haven't voted Republican since 1992. 1998 is kind of when Georgia comes into play. Georgia is flipped Republican in 1998 due to the backlash against Bill Clinton. And it was only flipped back to Democrat by Joe Biden in 2020.
Really?
Obviously, 2000 is kind of where the electoral politics that we would be used to kind of starts. And by 2000, the states on a Democratic winning streak add up to 193 electoral votes that the Democrats can kind of count on, whereas the Republicans add up to 154 electoral college votes. Because Arkansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, Tennessee, and West Virginia are kind of added to the Republican voting bloc in 2000. Arizona was also part of that, but that was another that was flipped back by Joe Biden in 2020. States that were flipped by Barack Obama in 2008 and have stayed Democratic ever since include Virginia, Colorado, and New Mexico. It did also include Nevada, but Nevada flipped back Republican in 2024, famously. And since 2008, Democrats have consistently had the same 225 electoral college votes of the 270 needed to win.
Yeah.
But of course, Trump flipped the Rust Belt with Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin in 2016 and won Florida, Iowa, and Ohio. Those 3 together are worth 54 electoral college votes, and they've been Republican ever since 2016. Meaning that for the first time in a decent number of decades, the Republican voting bloc of states that have consistently voted Republican for the first time adds up to more electoral college votes than what the Democrats have consistently had. Yeah. So the states the Democrats have consistently had add up to 225 electoral college votes. And the states that have consistently been Republican since 2016 add up to 235. Which brings us to Map Baddie, Steve Kornacki, who is the man normally breaking down this kind of data. And I could but dream of standing in his shoes. I mean, I never will because I'm not a journalist, but I've done my best. He started breaking down polling numbers for NBC in 2014. He came out in an essay for Salon in 2011. And he started as MSNBC's map guy in the 2014 midterms. He kind of broke through as like a big star in 2020, because many people were kind of similarly moved in the way you and I were by Steve Kornacki kind of guiding us through the long 2020 election night.
Yes.
And that was when people on Twitter started calling him Map Baddie. He actually didn't even realize that he'd become a Twitter sensation until like 3 nights after election night, because he was so busy. He said it was so frantic. I would probably say Thursday, somewhere around there, I started getting texts from friends and family. I was very surprised and taken aback by it. He was also added in 2020 to People magazine's Sexiest Men Alive.
Steve.
At number 13. According to People magazine, never before have khakis and a striped tie gotten so many hot under the collar. The MSNBC journalist's tireless coverage tracking the long post-election day vote tallying process earned him the title of chart throb, with celebrity fans from Chrissy Teigen to Leslie Jones, and even caused a significant spike in Gap's khaki sales.
Incredible.
On the eve of election night in 2024, again, Twitter was a storm with thirst tweets about Steve Kornacki, including Happy Steve Kornacki Day to all those who celebrate. Steve Kornacki, you are my snack. Don't forget to leave milk and cookies out for Steve Kornacki tonight. Steve Kornacki is the Mariah Carey of election season. My daughter can't wait for Steve Kornacki tonight. She calls him her emotional support election boyfriend.
Very good.
Steve Kornacki is quoted as saying, I take it in good spirit, but I'm a little self-conscious about the attention.
And that's fair enough, I think.
He appeared on the Kelly Clarkson show, and she asked, how does it feel to have thirst tweets about you? And he replied, it was not something I was expecting. We were just so busy looking at the election results Tuesday night, Wednesday night, election week. And my friends and family started sending me these texts. They had to translate some of them for me. I didn't quite understand what was happening, but it was quite an experience.
Protect him. Protect him at all costs.
Protect him at all costs.
The guy just loves maps.
He loves maps. He loves math.
He loves data.
He's a stats man. He's just an affable gay man.
Who loves maps, data, and stats.
It's very Sam Seaborn coded, dare I say.
I mean, you're not wrong.
He loves earnest analysis of the facts. And he is a shining light through these dark times. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. Obviously, it's difficult as podcasting is famously not a visual medium.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting to see how the election map has changed over time.
It is fascinating, actually, Leigh. And I think now I will have a greater appreciation on election night when we get to the map. Mm-hmm. And why, like, I remember in 2024, mm-hmm. like when certain states like flipped, you mm-hmm. like losing your mind mm-hmm. and me being like, oh, I guess that's really bad. But then mm-hmm. when you look at the history mm-hmm. of how voting has been for those electoral votes, you're like, oh, well, that is bonkers. So,
and when we look ahead to 2028, I think what's interesting is the Democrats, if they're going to have a hope in hell of winning, are going to have to flip some states.
Yeah, and some biggies.
And you know what? We know all about the distant dream of flipping Texas from both the West Wing in 2000. Obviously, it's been Republican since 1980. From the West Wing and also from Red, White, and Royal Blue, famously.
Hey, Mom, I've got an idea, and I think it'll flip Texas. Well, 21-year-old son, looks like you've done it.
Yeah.
Amazing. What a final reference to end the episode on.
We're Queer Gals Watch the West Wing, wherever you get your socials. Also, our Discord and our Patreon continues to be ever more fun as more of you join. And we love to kind of get to know some of you on there. It's really fun. It's a very fun community, if that sounds interesting. Also, a free way to support the podcast, rate and review.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
It helps more people find us.
Which is really great. And, if you want to get in touch, pop us an email at queergalswatch@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. Especially if you've got any burning desires for study sessions. We're always very interested to hear from you guys. If you've got anything that you're like, I'd love to hear Leigh's take on this. And I would love to hear Fi bamboozled by some information.
Shall
we meet up again next week, Leigh?
Let's meet up again and let's take Texas.
Let's take Texas. We can dream. I'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.